All About Pooh, based on the Winnie the Pooh works by A. Milne and E. H. Shepard, with illustrations by Andrew Gray. Meet Pooh. Here is Pooh, ready to be introduced to you. Some of you may have met Pooh before, and you may even think that you know him well. You may know that Pooh's full name is Winnie the Pooh, and even that he was once called Edward Bear. But in this book, you will learn all about the best bear in all the world, and you can listen to a story. Just the kind of story Pooh would like. A story about Pooh, because Pooh's that sort of bear. One day, Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest when he heard a loud buzzing noise. Now, if there is one thing that Pooh knows about, it is buzzing noises. There is only one thing that makes a buzzing noise, and that is a bee. And there is only one reason why it makes a buzzing noise, and that is because it has made some honey for Pooh to eat. The buzzing noise was coming from the top of a very tall tree. So Pooh began to climb the tree, singing a little song to himself. Isn't it funny how bears like honey? He went higher and higher until he was just a few branches away. Then, crack! Pooh said goodbye to the branch and bounced, crashed, spun and flew straight into a bush. Pooh brushed himself down and went to see his good friend Christopher Robin, who lives in another part of the forest. Pooh had decided that what he really needed was a blue balloon. He had thought about this very carefully. If he had a blue balloon, he could pretend to be a small black cloud in the sky, and then the bees wouldn't realise that he wanted their honey. Christopher Robin didn't think that this would work, but he decided to help Pooh. So off they went with a blue balloon. Pooh rolled in mud until he looked like a small black cloud, or so he thought. And then he held onto the string and floated up, high into the sky. But Pooh floated up meters away from the tree. He could smell the honey, but he couldn't get to it. "Do I look like a small black cloud in the sky?" he asked. "You look like a bear holding on to a balloon," replied Christopher Robin. After a while, Pooh said in a loud whisper, "I think the bees are suspicious." So Pooh asked Christopher Robin to walk up and down with an umbrella, saying that it looked like it was about to rain, just in case. And while Christopher Robin walked up and down, Pooh sang a song. And the bees all flew around him, and one sat on his nose as he sang. "Christopher Robin," called Pooh, "I have decided that these bees would make the wrong sort of honey, so I would like to come down. You must burst the balloon." So Christopher Robin aimed very carefully at the balloon with a pea shooter, and the air came out very slowly, and Pooh floated down to the ground. But he couldn't move his arms for days, and when a bee landed on his nose, he had to blow it off. A few days later, when Pooh was able to move his arms again to do his stoutness exercises, he made up a little hum as he stretched. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la. After breakfast, Pooh was walking through the forest, humming his hum, hoping to share it with someone, when he came to a sandy bank. In the bank was a large hole. "Rabbit lives inside that hole," cried Pooh. "And that means someone to listen to my hum. And someone with food." Pooh had realised that there were easier ways to get honey than pretending you were a small black cloud. But when Pooh called, Rabbit pretended that he wasn't at home, and even said that he was visiting Pooh. "That's me," said a very surprised Pooh. "Oh, come in then," said Rabbit. So Pooh squashed and squeezed his way through the hole, and was very pleased when Rabbit asked him if he would like something to eat. Pooh couldn't decide between honey or condensed milk, so he said yes to both. After all, it was nearly 11 o'clock in the morning, and Pooh always liked a little something at that time of the day. At last, after checking that there was no food left, Pooh thanked Rabbit with a sticky voice and said that he must leave. He started to climb out of the hole. But he pulled and pushed until his nose, ears, front paws and shoulders were in the open. And then nothing. "Oh, help and bother," said Pooh. "I can't move." By now, Rabbit had gone out of his back door and round to the front to see Pooh. "Give me your paws," he said, and Rabbit pulled, and pulled, and pulled. "Ouch!" cried Pooh. He was stuck, and Rabbit knew why. "I didn't like to say anything, but you've eaten too much," he said. "I shall see if Christopher Robin can help." So Rabbit brought Christopher Robin, who quickly saw that there was only one thing to do. "We'll have to wait for you to get thin again, so we can pull you out," he said. Pooh was very anxious. He would have to stay there for a week without any food. He began to sigh, and then a tear rolled down his cheek. "Would you read a sustaining story to help and comfort me?" he said. "Of course, you silly old bear," said Christopher Robin, and every day he read to Pooh, while Pooh felt himself getting slimmer and slimmer, until, at the end of the week, Christopher Robin took hold of his front paws, and Rabbit and all his friends and relations took hold of Christopher Robin, and they pulled together. With a sudden pop, they all fell backwards, and out came Pooh, free at last. He nodded to his friends and then continued his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. Tra-la-la. Now, if there is one thing that Pooh missed when he was stuck in the hole, apart from honey, it was his friends. Pooh enjoys spending time with his friends, and one very nice thing to do when you are with your friends is to play Pooh sticks together. One day, Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit and Roo were all playing Pooh sticks at the bridge. The river was very lazy that day, so they had been leaning over the edge for a while, waiting to see whose stick would be first. Roo kept thinking that he could see them and had been very excited, but soon he was beginning to get bored by how long the sticks were taking, until Pooh saw something. "That's yours, Piglet," he said suddenly. "The grey stick coming out now." Roo was very excited again. "Come on, stick!" Piglet thought he might win, and he squeaked excitedly. "Is it definitely mine?" "It's grey and big." "Oh no, it's Eeyore," said Pooh. And there, floating in the river, with his legs in the air, was Eeyore. "I didn't know you were playing Pooh sticks, Eeyore," said Roo. "I'm not. I'm waiting for someone to help me out of the river," he replied. Everyone was silent until Pooh said that he had a sort of idea. Eeyore was already feeling unsure about this idea. "We could throw things into the river to wash Eeyore onto the riverbank," said Pooh. Rabbit thought it was a very good idea, but Piglet was worried that they might hit Eeyore by mistake, and just then Pooh dropped the biggest stone he could carry into the water. Splash! And Eeyore disappeared. Even the sight of Piglet's stick coming under the bridge didn't cheer them up. But then Pooh saw something grey by the riverbank. It was Eeyore at last. "Well done, Pooh," said Rabbit kindly. But Eeyore didn't thank Pooh. Instead, he told Pooh that he had swum out of the way of the large stone he had thrown at him. Pooh began to feel a bit anxious. He knew that his good ideas were often better in his brain than when they were out in the open. But Eeyore was out of the river, and Pooh hadn't caused him any harm. They all wanted to know how Eeyore had ended up in the river. "I was thinking by the riverside when I was bounced," he said. And just as they were talking about being bounced, who should come through the hedge but Tigger. "Hello," he said cheerfully. Rabbit decided to ask Tigger exactly what had happened when he bounced Eeyore into the river. "I was behind Eeyore when I coughed," said Tigger, making a rather surprising noise which made little Piglet fall over. "Now, taking people by surprise like that is what I call bouncing," said Eeyore. "I was just minding my own business in my little corner of the forest when Tigger bounced in it." "I coughed," said Tigger crossly. Just then Christopher Robin walked towards the bridge, and the animals decided to ask him what he thought about it all. "Well, I think," said Christopher Robin, "I think we should all play Pooh sticks." So that is exactly what they did. And Eeyore, who had never played Pooh sticks before, won more games than anyone else. As the afternoon passed, Rabbit took Roo home to Kanga, and Tigger and Eeyore left together, leaving Christopher Robin, Pooh and Piglet on the bridge by themselves. It was a quiet, peaceful summer afternoon in the forest, and for a long time they silently looked at the river flowing beneath them. Until Piglet said that he thought Tigger was all right really. "I don't suppose I'm right," said Pooh, "but I think everyone is all right, really." And Christopher Robin agreed with the silly old bear. The end. Facts about Pooh. He was once called Edward Bear, but Christopher Robin changed his name to Winnie the Pooh after a swan called Pooh and a bear called Winnie. He lives in the forest. In case you ever want to visit, he lives under the name of Sanders. This isn't another name for Pooh. It is a sign by his front door. He loves honey, and this sometimes causes problems for Pooh. His favourite time for a little smackerel of something is 11 o'clock in the morning. He makes up his own hums, and poems and songs. It is rare that a day goes by without Pooh humming or singing a little song to himself. He is a bear of very little brain. Long words bother Pooh, and because of this he finds it very difficult to understand Owl and Rabbit. He sometimes has good ideas, like when he invented the floating bear and the brain of Pooh to rescue Piglet from the flood. He is a real friend. When Eeyore lost his tail, Pooh found it. But best of all, when Piglet lost his home, Pooh gave him a new one, with him. He would sometimes like to be Kanga. Pooh wishes he could jump like Kanga and Roo. Every Tuesday in the sandy part of the forest, he practices his jumps with Kanga. He discovered the North Pole. Pooh went on an expedition to find the North Pole. Roo fell into the river and Pooh picked up the pole to rescue him. He invented Pooh sticks. One day Pooh dropped 2 fir cones in the river to see which one would come out first. That was the beginning of the game called Pooh sticks, which Pooh invented. A poem about Pooh. Pooh is a silly old bear who lives life without a care. He's happiest when he has honey, the taste of it makes him go funny. Galoptious honey, sticky and runny. That clever bear of little brain saved Piglet from the pouring rain. There's nothing that he wouldn't do. Life is fun with friends like you. The best bear in all the world, Pooh.